to this month's Plate It Up Kentucky Proud Recipe segment. My name is Kelly Burgess, and I'm your Family Consumer Sciences Extension Agent with the University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension Service in Allen County. Today, we'll be making a delicious recipe called glazed cantaloupe bread. I'm super excited to share this one with you because cantaloupe is one of our favorite summer fruits that's finally coming into season. So for this recipe, we'll be using the traditional muffin method, as they call it, where we mix together our wet ingredients, our dry ingredients, put those together into a bread. So just to go over what ingredients we have applesauce. We have 1 cup of unsweetened applesauce, 1 cup of white sugar, 3 eggs, a tablespoon of vanilla extract, 2 cups of pureed cantaloupe, which I can talk more about later. We have our glaze ingredients, which will go on top, 1 stick of butter, 2/3 cup of brown sugar, a 1/2 cup of chopped pecans, and then we have 1.5 cups each of whole wheat flour, regular all-purpose flour. We have baking powder, baking soda, salt, cinnamon, and ginger. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started mixing our wet ingredients together. First, I'll be adding applesauce. And as I mentioned, this is unsweetened applesauce. No need for the sweet variety since we're adding in other fruits as well. This bread will be plenty sweet enough by itself without that. Then we have 3 eggs. So let's go ahead and crack these in there. You could have this done ahead of time in your bowl. You could crack them individually, especially if you had kids helping you and you wanted to make sure that you didn't end up with any shells in your bread. But we'll take care of this pretty quick, just like this. Alrighty, we have all of our eggs in there. And then let's go ahead and add our 1 cup of sugar. Now, I haven't tested this, but most of the time with recipes, if you have someone who is watching their sugar intake, if they have diabetes, you can cut that by about 1/4. So you could probably do 3/4 cup of sugar and it would probably still turn out okay. All right, 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. And then 2 cups of pureed cantaloupe. So what I did with this is I cut up a cantaloupe just in regular chunks like you would if you were gonna eat it. And then I put it in a blender. And that blender, the first couple times I turned it on, I had to give it a little shake to get those cantaloupe chunks down in there towards the blade. You could also use something like a magic bullet or any of those other blender type appliances that you might have in your home. So I'm just going to give this a quick mix just until it's combined. All right, so as you can see, that didn't take long at all. Since it's all liquid ingredients, it's not going to get clumpy or anything like that. So we'll just go ahead and make sure that our mixer is turned off and move that over to the side. I'm gonna go ahead and put my spatula back in here. And we will get out another bowl in order to mix our dry ingredients. So I love this recipe because it incorporates some whole wheat flour. So this is a way that we can add fiber to our recipe, which makes this more of a filling snack than just a traditional sweet bread. It'll help keep you full longer and give you some of those extra nutrients that we get from eating the whole grain of wheat. All right, 1.5 cups of regular all-purpose flour. And then we have a teaspoon of salt. We have 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda. So we're going to add those in, and then 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. If you've been watching for a while, you know that this is my favorite spice to add to just about everything. And a 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger. So this will just give this a little bit of a nice hearty flavor. And I like to mix my dry ingredients together with a whisk because I just feel like that combines them more evenly than just a spoon by itself. So we are whisking our dry ingredients together. You can see those spices are well distributed and that looks great. So our next step is to add this into our wet ingredients. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and make sure that this doesn't drip everywhere. We'll just put that bowl underneath, and then we'll go ahead and add our dry into the wet. So it's as simple as that, and all we have to do with this is just mix it with our spatula. So while we're mixing with our spatula, I'll talk a little bit about cantaloupe and its nutrition facts. So if you have a cantaloupe growing in your backyard garden, it probably took about 80 to 100 days for you to see a fruit since the time you planted it. So it does take a little bit longer. So when you get the fresh cantaloupe, it's a really great reward for all of your work. Cantaloupe is similar to other melons in that it's a low-calorie fruit. 1 cup of fresh cantaloupe has only 50 calories, and that is considered your serving size. So if you're somebody who likes to have a bowl of something beside you, just to kind of grab and mindlessly snack on, cantaloupe is a great choice for something like that because you're not going to be adding on a ton of extra calories in case you do eat a little bit more than that recommended serving size. Cantaloupe also gives us a lot of potassium, folic acid, vitamin A, and vitamin C, all things that are great for keeping us healthy. That folic acid, especially for women who are pregnant, and preventing neural tube defects. So definitely something that we want to make sure we include in our diet for everyone. Okay, so now that I have this mixed, we're ready to prepare our baking pans. And I'll just go ahead and mention at this time as well that I've already preheated my oven to 325 degrees. So it's ready to go as soon as this is ready. So this recipe calls to grease and flour our baking pans. So I just wanted to show you my technique for doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and lightly grease the inside of my pans. Make sure we get up the sides just a little bit to prevent any sticking. After we've greased, we are going to, I have a little bit of extra flour right here, and so I'm just going to barely sprinkle it over the surface of the pan. And then what we can do is kind of just gently tap back and forth, and our goal is to coat that bottom surface with flour. So I need just a little bit more in this one. So we'll add just a little bit more flour. As you can see, you get that nice white coating all along the bottom inside of your pan, and that's going to help your bread from sticking. You might have done this technique before if you've made a cake, especially a layered cake. It's very common to have a recipe that calls for greased and floured. So it's just something that keeps the bottom of it from getting oily and sticky, and it's that nice white soft coating. So our next job is to try and divide this evenly amongst our pans. So I'll start just by pouring a healthy amount in each one, and then we'll even both of them out. And this recipe, as far as the pureed cantaloupe, it is 2 cups of pureed. So if you're wondering, well, how much cantaloupe does that mean that I need to get? That is generally about 1 small cantaloupe. So if it's about a 5-inch cantaloupe, that would probably be the whole thing. For me, I had a large cantaloupe, and I've actually made 2 of this recipe, and I still had some left. So if you have a very large melon, there's a pretty good chance that you won't use all of it. But something that you could do with that extra pureed cantaloupe, if you go ahead and blend it all up, is to add it into a smoothie. At our local extension offices, we actually have a recipe for a melon berry smoothie. I think it might call for honeydew, but you could definitely use cantaloupe in that as well. So anyways, just some thoughts. Of course, you can leave it just chunked up to enjoy as a snack, maybe alongside your glazed cantaloupe bread. So now that we have all of this in our baking pans, these are ready to bake for 60 to 70 minutes in your oven on 325 degrees. That is a little bit longer of a time, but I found that 60 minutes for me was perfect. That toothpick came out clean, so that told me that it was ready to go. So I'll set these aside because we have one more step after your bread comes out of the oven. So you see these ingredients in front of me here. I have 1 stick of butter that I've cut up into about 1 tablespoon size pieces. And I'm adding 2/3 cup of brown sugar. I chose the dark brown sugar, but you could use the light brown sugar, whatever your preference is. Just impacts the color and flavor a little bit. And 1/2 cup of pecans. So what we need to do with this is put it in the microwave for a total of 3 minutes, but at 1-minute intervals. So each minute we want to take it out and stir it, and it's going to reduce down into a thicker glaze. When you're finished with those 3 minutes, you can go ahead and add your chopped pecans. And what you'll see when you finish looks a little something like this. It's a thickened glaze that I've already cooked in the microwave. So this is what we're gonna spread on top of our cantaloupe bread. And it's gonna just add to that visual appeal. It's gonna add even a little more sweetness as well. So I have one bread already finished by the magic of TV, as we say. So I'm just gonna take advantage of this time to spread a little bit, about half of our glaze, since we got 2 loaves out of our recipe. Spread some of our glaze over the top of our bread, and we can let that soak in. You won't need to add any other butter by the time it's finished. You can use a spatula to spread it. You can use, an icing spreader, anything that you want. But we just want to get that top coated. Want to see those pecans. And this would be a great recipe. Since it makes 2, you can make one for yourself. You can take one to a friend. You can enter it in the county fair. Whatever you would like to do with it. So this is our glazed cantaloupe recipe. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope this inspires you to try it at home. If you would like this recipe, you can get it a variety of different ways. You can email barry.hyatt@nctc.com. You can also search plateitup.ca.uky.edu or find Plated Up Kentucky Proud on Facebook for this recipe and many others. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll hope to see you next time.